Hey everyone, Ekman here with another video, and today we have a tier list for the 14th set of the Digimon card game. And to be honest, a lot of this Digimon BT14s kind of caught me by surprise. I was a little bit out of Digimon a little bit just because BT13 lasted so long, and I wasn't like a really big fan of that. And then also at the beginning of this month, when I was planning to make more Digimon content, One Piece had like this weird restriction list thing where they announced it and then they took it back, and then there was like a one weekend format, and then Star Deck 10 came, like just a whole lot of stuff happened for that. So with the timing on that one and the pressure, I just kind of focused on that a little bit more. But I'm really excited for BT14. I'm going to be making more videos for that. I do plan to do some more live streams with it as well, and maybe a tournament, since we do have a regionals in about a month from now in Pasadena, which I should be there as well. So I'm really excited, and I do appreciate you guys being patient for a lot of my content and everything else. But you should notice that I still do like my tournament coverage. I do promise to give you guys that as much as I can, especially with the nationals coming up in 2 months from now, which is really exciting. So anyways, we're going to go over this quick tier list as well. And I do expect to have in about a couple days from now just all my deck lists for BT14 for Digimon. But we'll just do the tier list for you guys today. And kind of the idea for this one, for the tier list, is that we do have a little bit of a different meta than the Japanese version, mostly because we do have these restrictions in our game. So some of these are kind of more for EX5, which is going to be technically the nationals format for Digimon, where we have all the Gabumon support. But these Gabumons are limited to one copies, restricted to one here. We also have the Geo Greymon, which is going to be a consistency factor for Shine Gray, which is going to be important for us. And then also the Mach Galgamon, which is a bit of an interesting choice for us here when this came out, but I do think that Mirage gets a little bit better with some changes that we have in this new format as well. And also the Eismon, and also we get the restriction of the Savior Huckmon, which is probably a long time coming. This is like the first time they've like unrestricted a card for the game, which is really interesting. So but also Tommy, which is probably the more impactful one of the two that of the unrestricted. That I'm really excited to talk about that as well. So that's kind of the differences that we have for our format compared to the Japanese format. And I feel like half of these cards were kind of restricted early, mostly because they didn't want to make two different lists when EX5 came out. So that's kind of the idea for that. So, but some interesting thing. And then also we have the training options, which is available for us finally. These kind of came to us late. These are just super consistency cards for any deck that is monocolored, because instead of like the original delay memory boost that found only Digimon, these find any card, and then also help you go, like, this is just like a free card in a lot of ways, because it helps you go up your chain, and which is really strong, really strong in a lot of ways. So I think this is a strong kind of card for consistency for a lot of monocolor decks that we're seeing, and we'll look at that there. So those are kind of like the new things for that. And then if we're going into our tier list here, it is a bit of a, I didn't have a lot of archetypes into this format. I pretty much got new ones that were getting introduced in BT14s, and then pretty much everything that was doing well in BT13, anything that got more than a couple tops, and then also a couple little ads from there. So through my tiers real quick, there's highly competitive, which means I would not, I expect it to win a tournament sometime in this regional format, even though technically I think we have less regionals in specifically this format, because we only get one, and then it's the EX5 format, but it's a regional winner in my mind. There's competitive, which I'd expect it to top and maybe get a top six, a win every once in a while. Highly playable is that I would expect it to occasionally top, and then playable, I'd be very surprised if it did get like a top 16 finish in a tournament. So anything also archetype wise that I don't mention is routinely highly playable or below. I just don't think it's going to be as big on the contention side there. So that's kind of the idea. If there's any of these archetypes that I missed, please let me know. I'm a little bit out of Digimon again, because I've been a little bit more focused on One Piece, but I do want to just kind of give my opinions back going on into it. So going on to the new archetypes, one we have surprise, another Agumon or Greymon archetype, which I think is going to be very good off the get-go. And I'm also kind of just going to break it, like anything with like Greymon in its name, I think is doing really great in this format. As someone who does a lot of like different ways, like just the tournament reports and everything else, it's getting increasingly difficult to like classify any deck with Greymon in it as just Black War Greymon or War Greymon or Shine Greymon I can get, but the other two is just kind of melds together a lot of the time. But like there's pretty much like Black War Gray and War Gray, but they're so flexible and there's so many ways to like combine them that it's really difficult. But and that's kind of like the strength of the deck too, is that because you have so many options that aren't like holding you back in any regard, you get so much strength, and you can catch your opponent off guard by what choices you make and consider to add to the deck. So that's kind of additional strength for the deck there too. So we're going to put that there. Then we have, this is kind of like a couple archetypes in one, but it's kind of like the idea of like any kind of source control or just like kind of like blue hybrid as well. I had the image as Tommy originally and just changed it to Zudamon because he's the new ace card as well. And I didn't really mention this, but ace mechanics I think are going to be something impactful for this game in general, but I don't think that one archetype more than the other like takes super advantage of it either, if that makes sense. But that's kind of the idea for that one. And I think that this deck is just kind of okay at getting like some advantage. I do think like blue hybrid with Tommy back is going to be kind of good as well. I'm going to kind of put that in like the upper echelon of competitive, especially because that deck is really good at getting out level 4s that just kind of, if they stay on the board, they stay on the board, which means you're really in tune for doing a good like ace mechanic like on your opponent's turn as well, a counter. So I think that is something that is a strength for this deck in general. The disruption from the source removal is good, and again I think Tommy is going to be a little bit of a menace. We'll see. I still remember making pie charts where he's like 50% of the pie chart itself, but there we go there. Next up we have like the I just call it kind of like the yellow vaccine kind of deck, which is again kind of interesting. You do kind of miss out on the Geo Gray, which could take advantage of a lot of this too, to be able to play Tamers from your life. But it's a really interesting archetype. It's kind of like Security Control in a lot of ways, which I also think that Security Control is in a good spot too. But yeah, just kind of like they're kind of like two archetypes that are very similar in a lot of ways, and I do think that is very strong for you. So I think I don't really have much to say. I think that they're going to be maybe obnoxious, but I think they're going to be prevalent as well. Next up is the Commandramon, and or Digipolice, D-Brigade, whatever you want to call it. I think this deck is like it's kind of like the same thing that this deck has been seeing for its existence, of like it is really great at being like an official rookie rush at times and being able to swarm the board. I do think that getting cards off the board is easier than ever in a lot of ways. If you're playing against a deck that only gets the tall removal instead of like the wide removal, you get like a little bit more options and like things from there. But Death X is still a card that I think a lot of people tech in and play a lot of the time. And it's easy to get the disruption for this deck. But if you're able to get some good turns and even like just the occasional like living in security with attacking with a D-Brigade, I think you're in a good spot. So I think we're just going to put that there. The Sukumon, the whole thing, I'm just going to put this in playable. I don't know if this has always been kind of a meme deck in its own way. We did get a whole bunch of support, and I might be like over or I guess underestimating it, but I'm putting it down there. And mostly because how do I say it? To encourage the people who play the deck to prove me wrong, I guess. It is really cool of a deck. Like it's a really fun deck. I do think it's not as viable as a lot of other decks. It doesn't have like the power consistency as much, but we're just going to kind of leave it there. Next we have Lugamon, which is probably one of the most anticipated archetypes. I'm going to put it in highly competitive. It's really unique on how it is. Obviously, the big boy being able to give your opponent, be able to extend your turn by an additional 3 memory is huge. There is a little bit of a negative where you don't get to choke your opponent to 1 because of how it works. So it's not all benefits, it's not all gas, but being able to extend your turns a lot more, I think is very, very powerful. You get a lot of effects, and just the way that this deck works is really unique, which I think is cool. So I think it has a lot of strength, a lot of consistency, and I think it's in a good spot. So we're going to leave that there. So that's pretty much all of like the newer archetypes for this one. And if I'm going to jump into kind of some of the older ones, first I guess I'm going to talk about Jesmon, which I think the Jesmon is in a okay spot. Like getting Savior Huckmon back is great, but it's also a deck like that doesn't get a lot of advantage from like the new training options, because you do have to play the Sistramons, which aren't red, right? Which just kind of hurt you. You do kind of have your own like training option as well, like the Master Disciple one, but it's not as good, I feel like, as consistency wise. We can see if that's wrong. I think Savior Huck is a really good card for the deck, but I don't think it's going to get there quite yet. So continuing from there, Alphamon is kind of in a good spot. It does, again, like you do have a lot of black cards you want to run. Cool Boy, unfortunately, is a white card, as well as the addition of like the your level 7 is the black card, right? Yeah. So you can play that one, but Cool Boy is kind of important for you, but and like the X antibody option. So not being able to find that, but the fact you already have like Cool Boy means that you're not. You don't really need the training options as much, but I think it's okay. I think it's an okay spot. I don't think it's in the competitive spot right now, but that could be wrong there. What else? Red Hybrid. I might be overestimating this one. You guys can call me out, but I think it's really, really good. I think it's a really great spot. I think the training options help it a lot because it finds your tamers, which is kind of saying like I kind of just breezed over Shine Gray, but I think Shine Gray is even though like you're missing out on Geo Gray, like you would definitely do the trade of Geo Gray to 1 to be able to run the training options to see your tamers more often and have your consistency there. It just means like you can go up your line super quick for very cheap, which is fantastic for the deck. So I'm just going to leave that there. What else? Which ones do you think is better? Do you think All Force or Mirage is better between the two of these? With Tommy Legal, I think All Force is probably the better of the deck, and then we did lose like a little bit of the consistency with the Mirage or the Mock Galgamon going down to 1 copies. But honestly, you do get a lot from the training option in Tommy. That helps this deck out a lot for disruption purposes and also finding your consistency, because you do run so many tamers in All Force and you do want to be able to find your pieces. So and you get rewarded for the more tamers you find, unlike some decks that you just want to find the 1 tamer and you're good to go. But I also think Mirage is in a good spot. I might just put this right up here at the top. Like these are very close to me in my mind on what you think, the strength and the power and consistency for them. So I'm just going to leave those there. What's next? Bloomlord. I think Bloomlord probably deserves to be up here too. Bloomlord as a mono green deck that also got like some new support with, and I don't know how good the support is really going to be, but the new Palmon seems really great for it, which is vegetation as well, and like the Mimi support. So most of like green just gets like a lot of just consistency hits because vegetation is such a popular card for them to print right now. So I think a lot of those do help you out for what you're doing, and I think it's never been like a bad deck. It's still going to be great. Quartzmon is still a bully against a lot of decks as well, so I think it's going to still be very present in a lot of ways. We have the Balfimon. Balfimon I think is probably going to see a little bit less play. I think the Lugamon is probably more of the deck people were playing if they want the same kind of interaction. It did also kind of miss out on the scatter mode getting hit. That hurt the deck a lot, so I think that kind of belongs to be there right now. The Garurumon, I think, is probably just highly playable for now. I did get like occasional tops towards the end of BT13 with the introduction of the new starter deck, but I think it's going to be highly playable, and then it's going to get better as we go on. So we'll see if that's in the same spot. And then we have, what else do we have? Machine Dramon. I don't know, like Machine Dramon got like a weird amount of tops for Pasadena in this last little bit. I'm just going to put it here, and you guys can tell me that I'm wrong, but that's okay. I think it's an okay spot in a lot of ways. So it's a fine deck, and it does need a lot of setup, which I don't know if some of these decks are going to allow you to do that. And also with blue getting Tommy, like the source removal, if they run that deck, just feels really bad for this deck that kind of depends on it a lot of the ways. So it's in a weird spot. I'm going to say it's playable. We'll see if it gets any tops in a little bit, but there we go there. Hunters is an okay spot, I think, despite it like getting no support as far as I know, and it doesn't. Maybe I'm gonna put Hunters highly playable. This might be low. I'm gonna put it at the top of highly playable. That might be low for the deck, but like I like this deck a lot, but I think it's just like consistency. It's not there quite yet. And the Royal Knights, I don't think Royal Knights are. I think it's the same thing. I think both these are a weird spot where they are really consistent. They're really just like archetype decks that are based from the set they came from. And as much as I like playing them, I think they're getting a little bit slower, and a lot of these other decks are getting faster and more consistent at what they're doing. And because of that, like, they don't get as much time to set up or get their own combos, right? Because these decks, if you get like that extra 1 or 2 turns to set up your egg or set up more tamers, you're in a good spot. But without them, they're just a little bit slow at times. So maybe I'm putting these down a little bit too low, and you guys can call me out. But I'm going to put these at highly playable, and we'll see if they bump up to more of the competitive side. So Blue Flare, I think, is in that competitive side. And then BLZX probably I'm going to put in highly playable. I think that makes sense. You didn't really use the scatter mode for this deck either, but I just feel like this has not been a deck that's been as popular as late. And I think, again, like, more decks are like Lucamon. I think a lot of people are going to be trying because it's the new deck, and if they like it, and if it is better, there's going to be 100% less play of BLZX and the Belphemon too. So anyways, this is my list real quick. Any changes within the tiers? I think we'll probably, I don't know, these kind of seem all right. Like, if I was to like even break the tier, I'd say like these 4 are probably in their own tier, and like these would be like the in-betweens in mine ways. And probably if I was doing like an in-between, I'd probably put Mirage there too. So like if there's an in-between one there. But then like the new archetypes, like there's not like an official archetype with the Zudamon, which kind of makes it a little bit bad, but just kind of like the idea of source destruction. We have our security control kind of archetypes, which can also include yellow hybrid, which I didn't really mention, but I think yellow hybrid is in a good spot with the idea that, you know, the training options can help you on your mono yellow decks as well. We have our D Brigade. We have our metal gray, or our blue flare in general. Again, if we're having like an in-between tier, these guys are probably there for consistency. Like I really like both these decks. It's just that they're the same deck as they've been. They don't really get any additions, and because they're multicolor decks, they don't get the additions of like the training options, which I think is a big hit for consistency. Alphamon's probably here. Could maybe, if any of these, this could probably, like, these 3 could probably move up. Alphamon might be good enough to move up. BLZX, Belphemon, Metal Guru X, which this one could be a little bit better moving up. Maybe just for visually, we're going to put Jesmon over here. I think Savior Huck is good, but I don't think it's going to be good enough for the deck to be relevant in a long time. So we have that. And the Metal Guru X. Again, this is going to get better with EX5, probably closer to this top end. But for right now, with the BT14 meta, it's going to stay here. So this is kind of where I'm feeling. If there's any archetypes that I missed, let me know in the comments. You know, generically, if I didn't mention it, I would think it's highly playable or lower. I just kind of grabbed a lot of archetypes that I thought were doing well in the end of BT13, and I think that could be doing well continuing to BT14 as well. So, but yeah, there's 100% a chance if I missed an archetype. Let me know. If I did, I'd be glad to clarify in any pinned comments below, but that's going to be it for me. So thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate the patience on Digimon videos as well. We should be getting more in the next couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are as well. So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.